If you've had trouble growing tomatoes and are ready to give up, good news. It may not have been your fault. It might be just that you're growing the wrong variety for your climate zone. In this video, I'm going to go through each type of climate and which tomato varieties will thrive for you in your particular area. Hey, I'm Brian with Next Level Gardening. If you're looking to join an online garden community that offers tips, tricks, and support to help take your garden to the next level, you're in the right place. Get started now by clicking subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss anything. Now let's get growing. Everyone wants to grow tomatoes and grow them successfully, but there's no perfect climate for all tomatoes. Tomatoes are originally from South America, where they grew wild and the size of small berries. And they first appeared in Italy in 1548. The first mention of them in the United States was in South Carolina in 1710. And over the past few hundred years, there's been a lot of changes in the tomato, especially the creation of varieties that will grow and thrive in just about any climate zone. So I'm going to go through the different climates and give you a list of both hybrids and heirlooms that will grow well for you in your climate. However, this is one of those videos where I ask you to comment where you are and what tomatoes grow especially well in your area. And I want to urge everyone to read the comments because there are more tomatoes than I can include in one video. So for more ideas, check out the comments. So I'm going to be talking about each of these tomatoes, where they're good for, but also I'm going to be using the term a lot, determinate and indeterminate. And so real quick refresher course, a determinate tomato is something like a Roma, where you plant it, it gets about 3 feet tall, produces all of its tomatoes at one time, and then it's done. Whereas an indeterminate tomato can grow and grow and grow as long and tall as you'll let it, and it will grow that way until the frost comes and cuts it down. So this is a tomato that's going to keep producing. If you have long seasons, you'll have a lot more tomatoes. They do need to be staked, however. So let's get started with the best tomatoes for the South. And we'll start with hybrids. When you're dealing with heat and humidity, you want to remember that hybrid tomatoes were developed for that. A lot of heirlooms don't do well and produce well with heat and humidity, and they succumb to diseases like verticillium wilt, fusarium wilt, and blight very early in the season. So I'm going to give you some hybrids that would be good for you, and a couple of heirlooms that are considered tried and true for the southern heat and humidity and the disease that comes with that. So the first one is Better Boy. It's a hybrid. It's an indeterminate tomato. Harvest in about 75 days. It's your classic tomato, both in looks and flavor. It's popular everywhere, but it does especially well in humid environments. The next one is Golden Jubilee. It's got a mild flavor, low acidity. It's an indeterminate as well, and it has very few seeds in it. Tropic is the next one. It's a heat-tolerant, disease-resistant variety, indeterminate, about 80 days. And this tomato was developed in Florida. So if it can handle the heat and humidity in Florida, I think this one would grow in almost any humid area. Mountain Supreme is another hybrid. It's a determinate tomato, about 70 days. It's red. It's a traditional globe tomato. Mountain Magic is an indeterminate red cherry tomato, about 70 to 75 days. Another cherry tomato. Cherry tomatoes can handle a lot more disease. They have a lot more disease resistance, so half of this list probably is cherry tomatoes. The next one is Sweet Million. It's a hybrid, indeterminate, 75 days. It's a red one. One plant, though, this is really a productive plant. One plant can produce over 500 tomatoes. So now what about heirlooms for the South? There are some. Probably the best is Arkansas Traveler. It's an indeterminate tomato, 90 days. It's a pink, has pinkish flesh. It's a medium size, about 6 ounces, and it originated in the Ozark Mountains. Brandywine is a popular one for the South. Indeterminate tomato, about 70 to 80 days. Pink again, and it's a beefsteak style, so these fruits can weigh in at over a pound. Punta Banda is another one. This is a determinate tomato. This is a great paste tomato. It comes in at about 68 to 70 days. Another one is Dad's Mug. It's another heirloom for the South, indeterminate, 90 days. It's got a pinkish red flesh to it. Also great for canning and paste. Now, I want to just insert here a couple of next level tips for humidity. And I have a video on, well, both of these, but especially the aspirin spray. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link a video down below. I'll link it also right up here. Spraying with that spray every 2 weeks is going to really help if you live in a humid environment to cut down on that disease. Now for heat, humidity or not, shade cloth, about 35% shade cloth on the hottest days, during the hottest parts of the days, that is going to keep your tomatoes producing through that heat. Another tip is to start seeds of quick producers early and get them out into the garden as soon as your last frost date passes. That way you can get a harvest in before the high summer temperatures kick in, and then you can start another batch indoors or outdoors mid-summer, set them out in the garden early fall for a second round at some lower temperatures. All right, so now we're going to move a little bit west, and we are going to be talking about hybrid tomatoes for hot, dry climates. So we're leaving the humidity behind, and this is going to be tomatoes that are for hot, dry summers, inland valleys and deserts in California, Arizona, Nevada. You know where you are if you have hot, dry summers. So the first hybrid would be Sunmaster. It's a determinate, 72 days. It's a globe tomato, about 7 ounces. And it's got great disease resistance, but also produces fruit even at temperatures above 90 degrees. That's rare. I'm also putting Punta Banda in this list. I'm including it twice because it's good for heat, even without humidity. I saw a study out of Arizona that really praised it for its ability to produce even in really hot weather. Beefmaster is another hybrid. It's indeterminate, 80 days. It's a deep red beefsteak color, weighing in at between 16 and 32 ounces. So these are big ones. Celebrity tomato, which I think you can find just about anywhere. It's another hybrid. It's a determinate tomato, 70 days. It's a globe tomato, about 8 to 12 ounces. This was a 1984 All-America Selections Award winner. The next one is another popular one. My grandmother grew it every year, and that's Early Girl. It's an indeterminate tomato, about 50 days. It's a globe tomato, about 8 ounces. And then a cherry tomato for the hot, dry Southwest mostly would be Sweet 100. High disease resistance, continues to bloom and produce throughout hot weather. All right, so how about some heirloom tomatoes for hot, dry climates? Arkansas Traveler, again, is another popular one because it can take the heat, whether there's humidity or not. Another heirloom for the Southwest or a hot, dry climate would be Burbank Slicing Tomato. It's a red globe tomato, about 70 days. The next one is Costoluto Genovese, and it is a indeterminate, 85 days, large fruit. It originated in Italy. It likes the heat, and it's one of the best tomatoes for making tomato juice. Eva Purple Ball is another heirloom. It's an indeterminate, 70 days. It's got a red purple fruit to it. It's a globe, about 5 ounces. High disease resistance. It resists cracking. So if you're not so good at watering in hot weather, it will reduce the cracking that is a lot of times involved or comes from irregular watering in hot weather. And it's an 1800s variety from Germany's Black Forest region. I don't know that they get that much heat in Germany, but that's where it was made, and it does well in hot, dry climates. There's a great white beefsteak tomato. It's white. It's about 85 days, indeterminate, and it's a beefsteak, so it's getting up there close to a pound in weight, each fruit. It is also crack resistant, drought resistant, and sun scald resistant, so perfect for hot, dry weather. The next one is Marble Striped. It's another heirloom. Indeterminate, 95 days. It's a bicolor beefsteak, up to 2 pounds in weight for each fruit. This originated in Mexico, so it performs well in the heat. Now, keeping with the multicolor theme, a purple calabash, indeterminate, 90 days, purple and burgundy. It's got a great shape to it, really interesting shape, about 2 to 3 inches wide. And it's really one of the true purple tomatoes. This one is also thought to have been originated in Mexico. All right, moving on now from the hot, dry weather, probably going up north now for the best tomatoes for short growing season. And so in doing all this research, I wanted to find tomatoes. The average tomato takes about 70 days from transplant to ripe fruit. And many growers, you guys up north, don't have 2 months of hot summer weather to wait through. You want to grow early producers to get a harvest in. So I've chosen varieties that knock about 20 days off of that time and clock in at around 50 days to harvest. So the first one is Patio Choice. This is a really small plant. It grows just about 18 inches tall, but it's got a ton of fruit production. 4th of July is another one. It can ripen midsummer, probably around the 4th of July. It's a slicing tomato. It's an indeterminate variety and it's got great flavor. Early Doll is another one for short season growers. It's a red tomato, a globe tomato, one of the first to ripen. This is a great tomato for slicing, using fresh, salsa, that type of thing. Bloody Butcher. This is a really early variety as well. It produces lots of clusters of 2-inch fruits, and they will ripen until the frost comes to kill them. They are great for canning. All right, we've got Early Wonder. This is a 6-ounce tomato, grows very well in short season climates, produces a lot of tomatoes for the length of time that you have. Now we're pivoting just a little bit from having, not necessarily 2 months of hot summers, but if you're even colder climates and you hardly get any summer heat for an extended period, you need tomatoes that were developed for cold climates where they don't need those nice 80 degree days to ripen well. Now you'll notice with the naming of these, there's a theme. Most are developed in northern areas of the country and the world, places where heat is at a premium. So the first one is Northern Delight. This is an heirloom tomato. It's determinate, 65 days. It's a smaller tomato, about 1 to 2 ounces per fruit, but it's definitely cold tolerant and disease resistant. It was developed by North Dakota State University. The next one is Northern Exposure. I used to love that show. That's dating myself. It is a hybrid, determinate, about 67 days, 8 ounces for each fruit. Flavorful tomato, very cold tolerant, and it's a smaller, compact plant. Another one, sounds really cold, is Polar Baby. This is an open pollinated, determinate, 60-day tomato, about 2 to 4 ounces, and it was developed in Alaska. Polar Star is a determinate tomato, 65 days, 3 to 4 ounces per fruit. It's got a sweet and tangy flavor, and it was also developed in Alaska. Now, we're moving way south from Alaska, but San Francisco Fog is a 70-day indeterminate, 2 to 3 inch fruit. It's sweet, flavorful, and it's prolific in cool, wet weather, hence San Francisco. Subarctic is an open pollinated, determinate, 42 days. It's about 4 ounces. Manitoba is another one. All these cold names. I'm feeling like the sun shouldn't be out right now. But Manitoba is a determinate, 58 days, 6-ounce fruits, globe shape. It's got a tangy flavor, very disease resistant, and it was developed in Manitoba, Canada. Moscovich is an indeterminate, 4 to 6 ounce fruit developed in Russia. So can you get colder? Almost not. Okay, so no matter where you live, there should be a few tomatoes from this list that you can grow in your climate. Again, please comment below on where you live and what tomato varieties have done well for you. If you learned something, please give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, share it with a gardening friend, and I'll see you next time.